On air.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. It is now 5:30 and I will call this regular meeting of the Burnsville City Council to order. Before we begin, the city clerk will note that for the record, all council members are present except for Council Member Keeley. I'm sure he'll be tuning in as soon as possible. It is our tradition to begin our meetings with a moment of silence followed by the Pledge of Allegiance. And we ask that you all join us. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Ladies and gentlemen, as we experience this season of COVID-19 global pandemic crisis, we all have pivoted and become creative and innovative to continue serving our community. Tonight's meeting is being conducted virtually. All of our city council members are joining us electronically along with our staff. Members of the public may watch this meeting online at burnsvillemn.gov/meetings or Comcast channel 16 or 859. If you would like to speak during the meeting, you may call 929-205-6099. You may also speak by joining us at zoom.us/join. More information is available on our meetings webpage and in the council agenda packet. Please note there is an audio delay if you are watching us on TV or online. So if you speak, please mute your video broadcast first. And now we move on to the next item on our agenda, and that is our announcements. Our announcements have to do with all of our upcoming meetings. Council meetings are scheduled for Tuesday, April 21st at 5:30 p.m. and Tuesday, May 5th at 5:30 p.m. We also have a work session scheduled for April 14th at 5:30 p.m. And all meetings are all going to be held virtually while we are in this emergency crisis time. We also had a joint work session with ISD 191 School Board that was scheduled for Thursday, April 16, and that meeting is canceled. And let me remind everyone again is that all meetings will be held online during this health emergency while city buildings are closed to the public. We have one proclamation, and that is Parkinson's Awareness Month. Whereas Parkinson's disease is a chronic progressive neurological disease and is the second most common neurodegenerative disease in the United States. Parkinson's disease is estimated to affect approximately 1 million people in the United States, and that the prevalence of this disease is expected to rise to 1.2 million people by 2030. And whereas the symptoms of Parkinson's disease vary from person to person and can include tremors, slowness of movement and rigidity, difficulty with balance, swallowing, chewing, and speaking, cognitive impairment, mood disorder, and a variety of other symptoms. And whereas research suggests that the cause of Parkinson's disease is a combination of genetic and environmental factors, but the exact cause of the disease is still unknown, and there is no cure or drug capable of slowing or halting the progression of the disease. And whereas the city of Burnsville is committed to raising awareness about Parkinson's and the impact it has on our loved ones, friends, colleagues, and community members. Now, therefore, I, Elizabeth Couts, Mayor of the city of Burnsville, on behalf of the City Council and in honor of all who live with Parkinson's, do hereby proclaim April 2020 to be Parkinson's Awareness Month. And we thank our Burnsville resident, Steve Knudsen, with the support of Prince of Peace Lutheran Church, and Jody Slaughter, the church's spiritual care minister that provides support to more than 50 people with Parkinson's in the Burnsville area, proclaimed this 7th day of April 2020. The next item on our agenda is citizens' comments. This is the opportunity for anyone in the audience to address the council on any item that is not on the printed agenda and not in application form that will be coming before us at a future date. Is there anyone who wishes to address the council? At this time, I don't see anyone in queue wishing to address the council. The next item on the agenda is for emergency items only, and this is additions to the final agenda. Ms. Mescoli, is there any emergency items to come before the council at this time?
There are not, Madam Mayor.
Okay, thank you. Members of the council, do you have any emergency items that you would like to be put on the agenda?
Nothing.
Thank you. We now move on to the consent agenda. The consent agenda is a group of items that's considered to be routine and will be enacted by one motion. However, an item on the consent agenda can be removed for a separate discussion and vote. Is there anyone in the audience who wishes an item on a consent agenda to be pulled for a separate discussion and vote? I see that no one is in queue to pull any items from the consent agenda. Ms. Mescoli, the staff wishes an item to be pulled from the consent agenda.
Madam Mayor, staff would request item 4I be removed from consent.
4I. Members of the council, does anyone want an item to be removed from the consent agenda for a separate discussion and vote?
Madam Mayor, I would like item 4G to be removed for separate discussion.
Is there anyone else? Seeing none, may I have a motion for the Councilmember Schultz?
If we could remove 4H from the consent agenda, please.
Okay, 4H is also removed from the consent agenda for a separate discussion and vote. Anyone else?
To clarify, Madam Mayor, that's 3 items that are being pulled from consent.
That's correct, Councilmember Keeley.
Thank you.
Okay. May I then have a motion for the balance, please?
Move to approve. Second.
Councilmember Gustafson makes the motion, second by Councilmember Keeley. Will the clerk please call the roll?
Councilmember Gustafson.
Aye.
Mayor Couts.
Aye.
Councilmember Keeley.
Aye.
Councilmember Schultz.
Aye.
Councilmember Workman.
Aye.
Unanimous vote and the motion passes. Thank you. Now we go to the items that have been pulled from the consent agenda. We will start with 4G. 4G is a resolution to authorize the 2020 regional solicitation grant application submittal to raise the multi-use trail adjacent to 35W from the 35W frontage road to the Black Dog Road. Councilmember Keeley.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I asked that this item be pulled from the consent because it was a very long road to get to where we are today. This item emerged as a result of the I-35 bridge project over the river, which unfortunately did not include elevating the trail access point on the Burnsville side above floodplain. So in a sense, the state spent many millions of dollars to put a brand new bridge in with a beautiful pedestrian trail on it, which we currently don't have. And unfortunately, with our chronic flooding, if you're coming from the south from Burnsville and want to cross the river, if we're in a flood situation, you won't be able to go across and use that bridge. So I felt it was worthy of getting a little staff presentation, so our biking and pedestrian community can hear about this application that we're making. Thank you.
Thank you. I'd like to call our Public Works Director, Ryan Peterson, please. Mr. Peterson. Good evening, Mr. Peterson. You have to unmute yourself, Mr. Peterson.
Thank you very much. I told myself 10 times I was not going to talk before unmuting, and the first thing I did was talk before unmuting. And once again, I've been promoted to a panelist, so I feel good about that. But Councilmember Keeley and everybody else, thank you for bringing this up. Control room, would you be able to bring up that PDF that I'd sent over? I think it would help describe the situation. Thank you very much. So for some reference here, the river, the dark gray going through the middle of the sheet here is the Minnesota River. And then you can see where the bridge is crossing over, and that the reference that Councilmember Keeley made to that being replaced is the MnDOT is replacing that bridge currently. $150 million project, a very large project that they're doing. And as you were stating, they're building a multi-use trail at the same grade as the road, but protected on the east side of the bridge. And then the different colors that show on either side are existing trails that can be used, including on the south side is Burnsville, the north side is Bloomington. So the trails that are available are the Big Rivers Regional Trail or the Black Dog Trail that we had put in a few years back. And then the blue one heading to the south is, we basically call it the 35W Trail because it's adjacent. It goes all the way down back behind Dodge of Burnsville and all the way down to Cliff Road. So as maybe Councilman or Control Room, could you go to the second slide? So if you can see on there, this is zooming into that area. The yellow numbers on that are shown there are actual elevations of the trail that are present. And once we start getting below an elevation of 702, it really becomes a concern for months, or like last year, it was about 120 days that it was flooded. A more typical year, maybe between 30, 45. But if we could raise that trail up to 702 on a typical year, it may only flood 3-4 days a year. So if you go down one more page, the proposal would be the yellow line is where the trail goes now. You can see when this picture was taken, portion of the trail likely was actually flooded there. I don't know if you can see my cursor moving, probably not, but it's you can see a portion of that yellow is in the lake has gone up to a certain level that's flooded. The proposal would be to move the trail closer to the ramp where the blue is, and then make sure the whole trail is above that 702. The reason why 702 is chosen is if you continue to go further to the south, all the way down to Lake Dodge of Burnsville, the elevation through there is pretty consistent at 702. So if we raise this up a whole lot higher, it would still flood back there. That elevation does not get you out of the floodplain, but it does reduce your flooding risk by about 80-90% in most cases. So like I said, it won't totally flood proof it, but it would greatly reduce it. So we've been working with some folks to evaluate this as a solution. And then also with this item is to submit to the federal aid process through the Metropolitan Council's Transportation Advisory Board. Basically, we're trying to get federal money in order to raise this trail up. So that could be done. The entire project cost is in the area of around $800,000 is estimated. A big part of that, there would be a lot of permitting associated with this for working in the floodplain. There's a lot of wetlands down here. It's a very complicated area to work. So there's more of those kinds of costs than on a typical project. But the federal grant would pay for 80% of the construction costs. The city would have to either find a way to fund the other 20% of the construction costs and the permitting costs. This would be an excellent use for park dedication funds that we've gotten recently, because this would be enhancing the usability of a trail. And as our master parks plan indicated, the number one thing that residents were hoping for is more trail connections. So this obviously be a huge enhancement, especially once the bridge gets completed. Prior to this, basically when this was flooded, so was everything else down there. So it never really rose up to a concern level, because basically if this flooded down here, there was nothing to go to anyway. It really became prevalent last year as they were building this. So that's kind of the history as to how this has been really moving forward. With that, I would stand for any questions.
Okay. Are there any questions for Mr. Peterson? My questions and comments will be for our city manager, Ms. Mescoli. I think at a work session, it would be great because we have two new council members, Councilmember Schultz and Councilmember Workman, who don't understand, probably don't have a good understanding of how we use our capital improvement funds for parks and how park dedication fees are used without the other. I'm just wanting to understand how all of that goes through. We have just recently gotten some park dedication fees from some of the new development, but we're about 98 built out. So I'm just wanting to understand our funding and that capital improvement plan for the park, simply because during the recession, we did not fund that capital improvement plan. So I'd like more information, and perhaps in a, sometime it can be put on our work session. So that's what I'm asking for that. But I think this is really getting at the point that we've talked about our bike trails, that we want to have that accessible for our people who use bikes. We're a multimodal system that we've accepted that to go back and forth. And I think this is a great application to get this work done. 80% is going to be funded by the federal government, but we have to come up with the other 20%. Any other comments, or if not, I will in a motion. Oh, yes.
Just for
Mr.
clarification, this is a submittal. We are not guaranteed. It's very competitive. We're hoping we can get it, but it's very competitive. We're competing against all the other cities on these types of things all around the metro.
No, congratulations. No, we have to compete for all of these. We've been competing for a whole lot. We still had to compete for the bridge over Nicollet over to MBTA, and still haven't gotten up to getting funded. So if we don't compete, we don't get. So I like that, that we are competing, but still we should be prepared in terms of what our contribution in funding is going to be. Yeah. Anybody else?
Just thank you, Mr. Peterson. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Would you like to make a motion to adopt the item, please?
I would like to make the motion to adopt item 4G, resolution authorizing the 2020 regional solicitation grant application submittal to raise the multi-use trail adjacent to 35W from the 35W frontage road to Black Dog Road.
I have a motion from Councilmember Keeley. May I have a second?
Second.
Councilmember Gustafson seconds the motion. Ms. Collins, our clerk, can you take the roll, please?
Councilmember Gustafson,
Aye.
Mayor Couts,
Aye.
Councilmember Keely,
Aye.
Councilmember Schultz,
Aye.
Councilmember Workman.
Aye.
All votes are in, and it is unanimous. The item passes. Thank you. The next item to be pulled and to discuss is the resolution to accept the Burnsville Center Village Traffic Study and authorize staff to pursue funding opportunities. Councilmember Schultz.
Okay, I asked for this to be pulled for two reasons. Number one, this is a large project. The step that's being asked to be taken is not a large step, but I do want to point out that this is a large project. This is a project that is estimated at this point to be $40 million for the anticipated transportation improvement costs in the Burnsville Center Village area. What is being asked, and I will highlight that adopting the resolution doesn't commit us to making these improvements. It's not approving funds for it, but it is being used to show council support for the transportation improvements, and then staff can pursue funding opportunities. Council has to vote later to make the actual approval of this. The second reason that I'm pulling it is because there are things in the traffic study that I don't agree with. And I've been clear about that for a while, that there are things within this that I don't agree with, I don't like, I have questions about. Some things, of course, they could be changed later or, brought up to it, like the intelligent transportation system, we're looking at a particular look, and then we're talking about like these big, huge flashing signs and things. The pedestrian underpass, that's another really big one that, that's, wow. So there are things with this on voting to accept the traffic study and to show support of it. I did want that pulled out because I don't want that on consent agenda. I want a voice vote on that.
Okay, very good. Does anyone have any other comments to make?
Just point of clarification, Madam Mayor.
Yes?
The title of the resolution is to accept the Burnsville Center Village Traffic Study and authorize staff to pursue funding opportunities.
Yes.
To Councilmember Schultz's point, we're not voting to fund anything. We're
Nope.
voting to accept the study results and to instruct staff to find grants, as many
Yeah.
as possible.
Well, to move forward and to find, how do we fund this? And this is usually our protocol on all of these projects. Okay.
And the timeline is going to be extended over a long period of time. It isn't something that's happening in 2020 per se, but it is the start of a fairly protracted process.
Yes, that's correct. Ms. Mescoli, did you have any comments to make about it?
No, Madam Mayor.
Okay, Councilmember Schultz.
To Councilmember Keely's comment, yes, that pretty much restated what I said. We are not approving this project at this time, but what we are saying is that we support the traffic study, meaning we agree with it. And then that allows staff to pursue funding options. And since this is a large project, we're talking 40 million in today's dollars, I did not think a consent agenda was where this project should sit, even at this procedural step.
I agree with you 100%. It's a big deal, and I appreciate the clarification.
Okay, Councilmember Schultz, what do you wish to make as a motion? Or we're discussing it now, and it was presented to us, So we know what they had done, and we have seen what has been proposed. Is there something more that you would like? How would you like this item to be to proceed? Do you want a vote to accept the resolution? Where the resolution only allows staff to move forward. This just gives staff the opportunity to move forward with this project. That's all this is you'll move to accept the resolution?
I will not be moving to accept this resolution.
Okay, may I have a?
Yeah,
Yes?
I'll make the motion. I understand where Councilmember Schultz is coming from. I'll make the motion to accept, to support the resolution to accept the Burnsville Center Village Traffic Study and authorize staff to pursue funding opportunities.
Councilmember Keeley makes the motion. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Councilmember Gustafson seconds the motion. Is there further discussion? Seeing none, will the clerk please take the roll?
Councilmember Gustafson,
Aye.
Mayor Couts,
Aye.
Councilmember Keeley,
Aye.
Councilmember Schultz,
Nay.
Councilmember Workman,
Aye.
The clerk has a division of the House. The motion passes. Thank you. Now we move on to item 4I, and 4I is a resolution adopting the assessment of 5 Metropolitan Council SAC units for Raven Investment LLC. Ms. Mescoli, our city manager.
Madam Mayor and Council, we are asking that this item be removed at the request of the applicant, and it would be brought back forward following their appeal process through the Met Council.
Okay. Council members, staff is asking that this item be continued and we can address it at a future date when the applicant is ready to bring it before us. Okay. Is there any discussion to this item? May I see the panel, please? Okay, thank you. If there are no comments to this item, may I have a motion, please, to continue this item?
Motion to continue. Item resoluting adopting assessment of 5 Metropolitan Count SAC units for Raven Investments LLC.
Second.
Councilmember Keeley makes the motion. That was seconded by Councilmember Schultz. The clerk take the roll call, please.
Councilmember Gustafson,
Aye.
Mayor Couts,
Aye.
Councilmember Keeley,
Aye.
Councilmember Schultz,
Aye.
Councilmember Workman,
Aye.
The vote is unanimous and it passes. Thank you. Members of the council, there are no other items to come before us. There are no items on the regular agenda, and that was the end of the consent agenda discussion of items. And at this time, I need a motion to adjourn the meeting.
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
Councilmember Schultz makes the motion, second by Councilmember Keeley. Will the clerk please take the roll?
Councilmember Gustafson,
Aye.
Mayor Couts,
Aye.
Councilmember Keeley,
Aye.
Councilmember Schultz,
Aye.
Councilmember Workman.
Aye.
And the motion passes. And good night, and thank you for being with us.